each other, whole staff. Guys, this one is a district mandated training that I found out on December 18th about. So clearly I didn't want to call a staff meeting on December 19th or 20th because y'all would kill me. So I was told it had to be done before January was over. So everybody in the district is receiving the same training. So I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew this wasn't a MAC thing, but this is some important information that will be shared with y'all. So if we could start off with good things. Sorry I missed the handshakes and stuff. Hopefully we did that throughout the day. Anybody have anything good to share? Anybody? Miss Love.
Okay, so we were talking earlier today, but during advisory with the whole like PowerPoints and all that stuff of going like the reset and all that. So I know that I have a little bit of a rough group in mine, and I know that sitting through the PowerPoint would not have worked. And so I was like, okay, so you tell me what you're supposed to be doing. Since you guys say you know what you're supposed to be doing, but you don't always do it. And so then we started kind of going through it, and then they were kind of telling me also like, well, I told them that, you know, we added specifically onto the list about like not hitting the stuff, you know, like the clocks and all of those types of things, and especially the doors, and they're like, so it got to this point though where we were actually having discussion and kind of talking about, well, this is why people are doing it, well, this is why the teachers don't want you doing it, and then, well, what can we do to try to get people deterred from doing that? And so it was more of this open conversation, and I just thought it was really, really cool. And they were also kind of like brainstorming themselves of like, oh no, but that's not going to work because of da-da-da-da-da. And anyway, so I just really felt like they were taking some really good initiative from it.
Thank you. That's good. So are you going to follow up with them? And
Yes.
then we can put the high five things all around
Yes.
school and have them, bam, so that they can quit hitting the walls? Thank you. Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
so today doing transition, I noticed Ms. Jones' class and Ms. Fryer's class waiting patiently in the hallway, single file line, they were quiet. And so I just wanted to say kudos to you two for actually teaching procedures on how to stand in the hallway when the teacher is on her way there. So kudos.
Yay. I want to share a good thing. Last night when I was at the PTA board meeting, there's two good things. We were looking at membership. So we're literally 4 staff members away from living our best lives and having 100% participation. 4. I will tell you that we had a very generous person anonymously pay for a couple PTA memberships as Mrs. Santa Claus or Mr. Santa Claus. So it was pretty cool to see that, you know, a staff member is trying to help, you know, get us to where we're going. But we do have a deadline of, do you remember? Do y'all remember?
The end of January.
The end of January to have everybody. So if you haven't joined, I'll give you one little last soft nudge saying, hey, please join. If you need the $10, I mean, I might have to sponsor you if you'll let me do it in your name, just so that we won't miss the mark for 4 people, because I think it's amazing that we're that close. So if you want to talk to me about it and just see if you're one of the 4, just come see me after. Yes.
And guys, honestly, we were talking about this last night too. Like what they do for us is way more than $10 worth. So just saying.
They give
get
us
a lot out.
They give us grants, and I think that they're starting to rev up and look for the grant stuff again. So they're excited to do for us.
Are we still doing good things?
Yes.
Okay. My good thing is I was a part of my first meeting yesterday. So I was able to do it because I'm math and science, and I was an Austrian teaming background information. But I was part of my first one yesterday, and I felt so involved and included. And I'm happy.
Yay! All right, so the Who You With celebration, I know we did one yesterday, but I'm going to do another one. I want to shout out Jennifer Haynes. She does not know exactly how amazing she is. I don't think. Someday she might. But, you know, she's been so, like, I guess, passionate about the hard work that we do. She's even challenging me. First of all, people that don't know me, y'all don't know I don't watch TV. Like, I do not watch, I can't sit down that long. I got stuff to do. And so she got me to commit to sitting down and watching something that I will share with y'all later. But when I tell y'all, after I watched it, I texted her and said, why you want to make me cry? Ain't nobody got time for this. And so just the hard work, like, and even the work that you and Mr. Nichols are doing in the science class with the positive, you know, like, y'all got some rascals, some little knucklehead. I know them kids from last year. So just the work that y'all are doing, I just want to say thank you. So, appreciate it. Y'all have a wit person. Y'all, if you don't, it's okay, because I didn't tell you. Tangi,
Okay, I got it.
I didn't tell you, so. Okay.
So, I'd like to do a quick shout out to Lisa Rogan, who comes and helps me with 7th grade lunch every day. I know she has a friend in here, but when that friend was also in the room, she was here all the time helping with the 7th grade lunch. And,
That helps.
It's so helpful, so thank you, Lisa, for being there all the time.
And it's like 300 of them and like 3 or 4 of us, and if they ever figure that out, we are screwed.
Okay, so my person is going to be our awesome brand new science teacher, Andrea Lopez. She is awesome, came in, halfway through a year, kind of completely switching career paths and what she's doing and jumping in and asking questions and just being willing to kind of take on that type of a challenge. Being a teacher is already a challenge. Coming halfway through a year is a whole nother challenge, so we appreciate her. Thank you for coming in.
And I want to affirm you as well. My daughter just so happens to be in your class. You probably don't even know her, but she came and said, Mama, that lady came from the bad school. She knows what she's doing. And she said she didn't even seem nervous to be starting at the semester. And I'm like, a kid picked up on that. That's awesome. One more wit, y'all. My heart was so happy. So I went into 7th grade ILA today planning. Those are my peeps. Y'all know I love the 7th grade peeps. Because y'all dealt with that craziness from last year. And I challenged them the last time I was in their planning group. You know, I was like, well, you know, there's some things that are going to be like, for real, what we have to do. And I just, threw it out there and left it alone. I wasn't going to bother it again. Well, then I randomly show back up today, and what are they doing? They are doing what I challenged them to do. They're doing the Mastery Connect stuff. So I was just so over the moon, excited, because ILA does not have it as easy as some other departments. I will say, I feel like the ILA department, they could do better with what they give our people to work with, because they changed the TEKs and everything like that, but they didn't retik it. Like when we get snapshots and stuff, they didn't retik it for them. And so they're in charge of having to do that for themselves. So their job is that much harder. So kudos, ladies. All right, so we'll get started. Anybody want to be a rater? Okay, thanks, Ms. Priego. And an affirmer. I know y'all love to rate and affirm so much. Let's see. Who wants to be an affirmer? Ms. Khan, can you affirm us today? Thank you. All right, so CBAS, y'all, and y'all, you know how technology is. It don't want to let us be great, so we'll see what happens. But I was supposed to show you a video from Dr. Waldrop that's right here, but it says, oops, it's not available. So, that's part of it. If it doesn't end up working, seriously, like real talk, I've been playing with this trying to make it come up. If it won't come up, it's okay, or maybe I can show you at the end, or I probably will, it's emailed out to you as a link. On the email, if this doesn't end up working, because it wouldn't let me download it, you'll have to watch the introduction on your own. But basically, and you really need to watch it, because kind of when your superintendent speaks, you kind of are supposed to listen, And if they ever see you in a grocery store or something and be like, hey, did your principal say yes?
Tutorials are over. Teacher.
Okay, I'm gonna give up on that part. It's actually only a 2-minute video, but I will tell y'all, basically, our accountability system, every time you get used to it, it starts changing, right? Well, now we have a new part of our accountability system, and everybody's in here because everybody's involved, because CBAS stands for Community-Based something, something. We'll see in a minute. But it's more like it's not just the STAR exam. Basically, that's where we're going. It's not just the STAR exam where we're getting our ratings and stuff like that anymore. It's like a community-based approach. So honestly, for the rest of this presentation, this guy here is going to be talking to y'all. But everybody needs to have this, because you're going to do something with this. So if you don't have it, please raise your hands and I'll get you one. It's at the front. I'm going to make sure everybody's ready. After that, we'll spin the wheel, launch you, and get out. Everybody need a pen? All right, I'm here for keep the neat pens. Anybody else? All right, so it looks like we're all ready now. Yeah, no, maybe so. Ooh. Okay, from special beginnings. Oh my gosh. Oh, there he goes.
Hi, and welcome to the True Educational Accountability Series. I'm John Tanner, the founder of TestSense and now Tanner Educational Solutions. Our organization is committed to finally getting educational accountability right, which has proven very elusive so far. The fact that you're watching this means your school or district is a part of a growing movement that intends to make accountability something that works for schools and students rather than against them. As somebody who has spent the better part of the last decade thinking through what that might look like, I'm excited at the progress we've made and really excited that you're here and part of this journey. Please be sure to let us know how you like the series and what we can do to better support you and your work. And thanks for everything you do to support public education. The True Accountability Series is a set of short presentations intended for schools and districts that are part of the True Accountability work. The fact that we are continuously learning about how best to do this work means we will frequently update the material to keep it current. The series includes presentations on things such as the Smartness Profile, the basics of true accountability, the accountability engine, and this presentation on the system identification tool. Please let us know what additional presentations would be useful, as we will gladly create them and add them to the series. We start each of these sessions with several reminders. The first is that there are 4 types of accountability. This is important to understand so that we can focus our thinking properly. The types of accountability are personal, internal, professional, and organizational. It is easiest to see the difference between these when we consider who gets to determine effectiveness. In the case of a personal accountability, I determine my effectiveness and whether or not I am satisfied with my efforts. In the case of an internal accountability, I am inside an organization and my boss determines my effectiveness. In the case of a professional accountability, it is my peers and fellow professionals. Organizational accountability, though, is unique in that it is the one accountability where effectiveness is determined.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to cut it down. Is it really like extremely loud?
Do you want me to go back there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you want me to go up there?
Or can I do it from here, or do you gotta go back there?
You have to exit out of it.
Oh God, they will let me be great.
Just lower the speaker.
Outside the organization. Thus, while each of the first 3 types of accountability.
I shouldn't be running this. Like, I'm not equipped. Okay. Let's see if this is better. Hold on, Miss Glegg. I think I might have did it. Let's see.
We start each of these sessions with several
That's better,
reminders.
right?
The first is that there are 4 types of accountability. This is important to understand so that we can focus our thinking properly. The types of accountability are personal, internal, professional, and organizational. It is easiest to see the difference between these when we consider who gets to determine effectiveness. In the case of a personal accountability, I determine my effectiveness and whether or not I am satisfied with my efforts. In the case of an internal accountability, I am inside an organization and my boss determines my effectiveness. In the case of a professional accountability, it is my peers and fellow professionals. Organizational accountability, though, is unique in that it is the one accountability where effectiveness is determined outside the organization. Thus, while each of the first three types of accountability requires technical understanding, and organizational accountability does not. Instead, it is the job of the organization to communicate what the organization does in a way that makes sense to a wide variety of external audiences. When we talk about true accountability, we are talking about organizational accountability and outside stakeholders. The other forms of accountability are always operating within an organization, but they are not our focus here. The second reminder concerns the definitions for accountability and effective organization. Understanding both is a prerequisite to understanding what we mean by true accountability. An accountable organization or person is one that offers a thorough accounting regarding their effectiveness and takes full responsibility for what must be done next. Accountability in that regard is an active function of an organization regarding the work that must be done, not a passive description of what happened in the past. An effective organization is defined as one that does three things. It regularly achieves its missions, those missions are meaningful, and people want to work there. An effective organization does all three of these things. And by missions, we don't mean the directional mission of organizations that often hangs on the wall, but rather the reasons for an organization's existence. Our objective in creating a true school accountability is to ensure an accountability designed to support every school in becoming a more effective organization against each of its missions. The True Accountability series is intended to support schools as they do just that. This presentation on the system identification tool will allow us to understand accountability in a way not previously possible. Consider that there are two forms of accountability, and that each type of accountability, such as an internal or an organizational accountability, can take on either of these forms. These forms are simple to see if we consider the terms that come to mind when we say the word accountability. On the one hand, we have positive terms such as transparency, responsibility, honesty, and trust. These represent the manner in which accountability is performed in effective organizations. On the other hand, we have a series of negative terms. These include blame, trouble, or sanctions, and those operating under this form of accountability often test claims due to a lack of trust or feel the need to hold people's feet to the fire. What needs to be recognized is that these represent two entirely different systems. On the right, we have a system for accountable organizations, those organizations that have internalized what it means to be accountable in a meaningful way and operate accordingly on a day-to-day basis. Any reasonable leader will embrace this way of doing things and attempt to steer their organization or part of the organization accordingly. On the left, we have what happens to unaccountable organizations. These are organizations that either refuse to be accountable or find themselves in the midst of a crisis that must be undone. Working in this sort of environment is likely not a pleasant thing to do, but at times is necessary in order to force a course correction and get back on track. It is important to note that when accountability is done to an unaccountable organization, the accountability must be a short-term accountability. Its purpose is failure prevention at the expense of everything else. And while this may on occasion be appropriate, this cannot represent a long-term accountability without causing serious damage to the organization. True accountability is always about long-term sustainable excellence. When an organization finds itself in a position where accountability is something done to it, its job for a moment is not to focus on long-term sustainable excellence, but rather to prevent immediate failure. An organization told to focus on failure prevention as a permanent accountability solution would be hard-pressed to also focus on long-term sustainable excellence, which would in turn compromise that organization's future. The first thing you need to do is fill out the first 5 positions in the first column by answering the question, why do we educate students? Take a few minutes and provide 5 answers you believe to be relevant. Once you have your 5 answers, you may want to share them with those around you and look at others as well. Feel free to adjust if you find answers that seem to work better than your own. Leave 6 and 7 blank for now. Please pause the presentation until you...
Okay, I'm pausing. Y'all have-
Next, you need to fill in numbers 6 and 7.
Wait.
For number 6, please write in state test scores. For number 7, please write in graduation rate if you represent...
Y'all, I can't run this. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm laughing at myself. Okay, so y'all have 3 minutes to write in why you feel that, what was the question? Why do we educate students? I've done this exercise. That's the only reason why I'm not doing it with y'all. I'll show y'all mine at the end. So why? But don't fill in, well, you can see it now, so you can fill in 6 and 7, but I guess you can see it. Why, just in your mind, why you educate students?
The actual teacher or?
Just whatever your thought process is about why you educate students. What's the purpose? Why do we educate students? I mean, well, why do we educate students?
Royalty.
But no, it can be like, why do we have an education system in the U.S.? Or why do you educate? Like, however you choose to answer it is fine. I'm supposed to set a timer. Y'all need more time, 5 to 5? Y'all good, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start him back up. He's gonna stop me again. Hang with me when I try to stop it.
Next, you need to fill in numbers 6 and 7. For number 6, please write in state test scores. For number 7, please write in graduation rate if you represent a high school, or attendance if you represent a school that serves younger children. If you happen to be an administrator, feel free to select either graduation rate or attendance. Please pause the presentation.
When you say pause, I'm just gonna escape. Okay, everybody have a chance to write that in? So in blank 6, you should have state test scores. And then in blank 7, you should have attendance. Attendance, because we're not graduation rate. So 7, put attendance. High school, they're tracking a graduation rate with high school only. Well, they're tracking it with us too, but for the state of the CBAS, they're looking at our attendance, kids' attendance. Everybody got that? Thumbs up? I can move on? Okay, let me see. This slide.
Now let's fill in the remaining columns by answering 3 questions. The question to be answered in the second column regarding each item in your list is this: is this easily measurable? For each of the 7 items, which include the 5 you wrote and the 2 I gave you, indicate with a Y or an N your response. Please pause the presentation until you are ready to move forward.
Okay, so is this easily measurable? So you can write a Y or N all the way down, 1 through 7. At the end. Is it working? Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay. Okay, see it on my way. That's okay.
Or if you could get your Apple TV, plug in the projector.
Apple TV is your technology group.
I'm doing the best I got. I'm like, woo. Y'all still yesing and knowing? Are we ready to move on? Move on? Finger up? We're good? Nope. Give you one more minute? Come on, guys. All right. Here's the next question.
The question in the third column is this: is this
Oh, whoop. Did I skip?
in the last?
Oh, Lord. This one. I can't be great. I'm trying. I think this is right.
The question in the third column is this: is this included in the current accountability system? Again, indicate with a Y or an N your response. Please pause the presentation until you are ready to move forward.
So is this included in the state's accountability system? So right now, whatever you wrote, is that a part of the state accountability system? Yes or no?
See, this is what the students do.
But he still ain't working.
You told me to look at the video and then you're gonna yell that you're not working? Now I know how the students feel.
Hey, I'm sorry. We put this to there and like these.
All right, so we're good? We're ready for the next one? All right.
In the last column, consider where the effect is for each item on the list. When you look at your response to the question, or at either of the responses I gave you, is the effect going forward in the future, or is it in the past? If it is going forward, put a forward-facing arrow in the space. If the effect is in the past, put a backwards-facing arrow in the space. Please pause the presentation until you are ready to move forward.
So basically, is this something from the past or the future? Is the effect of whatever you wrote a part of something from the past, or is it something towards the future?
just learning to be, I'm a recovery perfectionist, so.
It's importante. All right, thumbs up, we're good? All right, we're moving on. Y'all with me? Oh.
What you should each now have is a completed system identification tool. It is now time for you to discuss what lessons you see before you. What patterns do you notice? Where does your completed tool show similarities or differences with others? What are the consequences for what you are seeing? Please pause the presentation until you are ready to move forward.
So guys, I'm gonna give you a few seconds. I'm gonna put these questions up here. Go ahead, turn and talk is gonna be hard, but find somebody to talk to. If you're by yourself, join someone. But y'all can talk in whatever size groups, but look at your pages and compare the similarities and differences to your partners. Y'all have like 2 minutes, and then I'll ask for a few share outs.
I'm too gifted.
All right, any observations? Or should I call y'all for observations?